much going into the month, you guys knew this was going to be a gauntlet in terms of schedule, in terms of opponents. What have you liked best about the way that you guys have handled that? Not just game to game, but in the scheme, the grand scheme of things.
The thing I liked the most was the losses that we took. I think we learned a lot from those losses. Up until that point, it kind of had been a smooth sailing, but this month has been rough, like you said. It's been a lot of travel, a lot of games, and to get where we want to go, that's the playoffs, and beyond the playoffs, you got to play multiple games in a few amount of days. So I just like the adversity kind of that we went through this month, and we still got a long month to go. A lot of games, especially this week. So yeah, just the adversity we went through.
You mentioned the ones you like the most are the losses, and it seems like everybody on this team has kind of a similar perspective of like accepting challenges and having a really good relationship with adversity.
Right.
How important is that for such a young team?
Yeah, it's very important, especially just to maintain a positive spirit through it all. I think those losses kind of did something to us as a team. It showed our weaknesses and the things we need to tighten up. And it made us come together more as a team. And it was a good month from that perspective, just as far as getting better and fighting through adversity and travel and the games, back-to-backs and stuff like that. So it was a good month.
Another back-to-back coming up for you guys. What's one of the keys to staying even keel and staying not engaged?
Locked in?
Yeah, thank you.
Just having a 0-0 mindset, like Coach always preaches. Every game, just having that 0-0 mindset, man. Like, it could be a win, it could be a loss. It's up to us to decide that. Just having that mindset, that clear mindset that you can't take any opponents lightly, no matter who it is. You just got to come in every game with the same amount of focus and preparation as we did for a win. So, just having 0-0 mindset.
Is that important tomorrow night? Because Portland, last time they were here, 62-point win. Is that more important tomorrow?
It's important every game, no matter who it is. It could be Portland. It could be the best team in the league, Minnesota. You can't take anybody lightly. Of course, they got players over there as well, some talented players. So just being able to stay locked in no matter who it is.
What do you feel like that 0-0 mindset has done for you guys? It's something that you guys have been doing, or the mindset you've had for a while, but it seems like it's really showing this year.
Yeah, it's something that Coach has been preaching since day one, since I got here, to be honest with you, about 4 years ago. And that's you could say it's been that way when we was losing and when we started winning games. So it's like I know the best of both worlds. I know how it feels to lose. I know how it feels to win, and I know how it feels to come in every day with the same mentality, having a 0-0 mindset. So I can't really explain what it is, but it's pretty much just being where your feet are every day and taking it one day at a time.
Sounds like you don't really constantly, because you were here during some lean times.
Yeah.
You don't think about that where, because you got 29 wins. You got a 24 and 22 win season just a couple of years ago. You don't think about those things.
Like the seasons we had?
Well, just the fact that it's better times.
Yeah.
How do you not just?
No, for sure. No, you definitely. I wouldn't say that I don't think about those times, because those times are what kind of made us as a team. It gave us a foundation on something to build on, and you can't forget where you started at either. For us to go through that losing seasons like we had, it prevailed us to where we're at today. So yeah.
What does the other night do for you? It was a win, but it wasn't a pretty win. You guys shot like 40%, kind of a grinder, barely got to 100 points. How can it help you down the road?
Well, those wins are going to be wins like that are going to be kind of what's going to happen, where we want to be at in the playoffs and postseason and stuff like that. It's going to be gritty. It's going to be ugly wins. Not every night you're going to shoot the ball well, but you got to figure out a way to to win the game, whether that's on defensive side of the ball, just doing the little things for the team that the team needs and stuff like that, and just find a way to win. That's the main focus, find a way.
Over your time in the league, if you had to put a number on it, are teams playing zone defense more often now than they were when you first came into the league? And if so, can you think of like percentages?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. My first 3 years, we never seen a zone. I never seen a zone. When you heard of that in the NBA, it was kind of like, man, what? It's like it's rare. But I think that the way the game's played now, against certain teams, you can play zone. Teams have been zoning us, and we're figuring out ways to kind of exploit the zone and figure out ways to score out the zone. So it's all a process for us. Like I said, it's something kind of rare in the league, but it's starting to come along. So coach is doing a good job of kind of implementing stuff, plays and stuff to help us figure out the zone.
Mark has a chance to be the coach for the Western Conference All-Stars this year. Is that something that you guys talk about, or is it something that you guys even think about?
No, we don't even think about it, man, to be honest with you. Never even brought up. He doesn't even bring up stuff like that either. So, but now that you said it's my first time hearing it, and that'd be a big accomplishment for him, man. He deserves something like that.
Mark, I was asking Kenrich about like the prevalence of zone defense in the NBA, and he said when he first got in the league, people would have like scoffed in locker rooms about another team playing zone. What have you seen over the course of your time in the NBA in terms of like the frequency of that and where it's at now?
There's probably numbers on that that's more concrete, so not sure. It's been somewhat prevalent based on the team. I mean, I was watching Miami in the bubble, actually, against the Lakers. They played it in the finals of the bubble a lot, or leading up to the finals a lot. I think they zoned Boston quite a bit. So, I mean, they've been doing it for a little while. We've seen the second most zone this year of any team in the NBA, so I don't know if it's that prevalent league-wide every night, but we're seeing it a lot right now, among some other things. So certainly something that we focused on and we're learning from and improving through. I thought Utah was our best game. Minnesota zoned us the last 2 times we played them. They only played like 2 possessions last game, which to me is a good signal that they've got some respect for our ability to handle it. So we're nudging forward on it.
You've mentioned that teams, going away from their base coverage and doing stuff like that is a compliment to your offense. I was thinking about the flip side. Are there things that teams are trying to do offensively that are sort of like a compliment to your defense that they're going to, or is that less of a thing?
Not really. I mean, I think we see a little bit more of a conventional attack against us defensively. I mean, the thing that teams are talking about, you can hear it in the game. You can kind of see it with when they use timeout, when they're mad at their team, is the turnovers. I think when teams come into the game against us, they're like, hey, we got to make sure we take care of the ball against them, which, again, I think it's not something that we design. It's more a byproduct of, putting teams in a crowd, and then our guys playing with great competitiveness and energy.
Another back-to-back for you guys coming up. We talk about fatigue for players, but do you, as a coach, kind of get a little fatigue on when these long road trips and back-to-backs? This is the 3rd one for you guys this month.
Yeah, not like the players do. I get tired when we land at 3 o'clock, but my mind immediately goes to like, well, if I'm feeling like this and I'm not doing anything, then these guys must be exhausted. So, but they're also elite athletes, and I'm a sub-elite athlete, somewhere below that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's anywhere below that though. I'll let you decide.
With the 0-0 mindset, Ken was talking about how that started from when you first got here.
Yeah.
Where did that come from, and why did you feel like that was a need for a young team?
I always try to make sure that we're messaging the most relevant things that are going to come up through the season, because otherwise you end up addressing things reactively. So 0-0 mindset. If you take a team lightly or you're going against a really good team, you end up referencing the types of themes that lead back to that. And so it's kind of reverse engineered from that. But where I got the idea was actually, I was with the Thunder for a playoff series, and we were playing Dallas. It was Billy Donovan's first year, and we were playing Dallas in a playoff series, and we won a road game, and we took a lead in the series, kind of a swing game in the series, and Nick Collison actually, in the locker room after the game, everybody was excited, and he like stopped everybody, which he didn't do very often, and he was like, "Happy teams get beat. Like we have to get back to 0-0 for the next game." And I thought that was pretty like profound. You know, I was like, "Oh, that's really wise." So that kind of triggered a little bit of an idea there. But it's also just like trying to get out in front of all the stuff that you're going to confront in the season and get the team thinking like that on the front end.
Was it a little tough to get a young team to that, had been losing, to try and get that mindset, or did you find it easier because they had been losing?
We were doing it in the G League too. You know, it wasn't even just with the NBA team here. So we've been banging that drum for a long time. But no, this team's never been tough to get. You know, they grasp everything. You know, that's one of the things I think that makes this particular group uncommon. Is, you know, regardless of the circumstances, they've taken to just about everything, especially the stuff that has some substance to it, which I think that does. I think it's pretty, it's hard to argue with. You
talked a little bit about Vasa catching up to the speed of the pitching. And the easy thing for him was like he had the pitching pretty much down where he was, and so he comes here and kind of takes on this challenge and not knowing what's going to happen. How do you feel like he's just sort of handled all of this?
I have great respect for the position he put himself in to do. He is like a legend over there. I don't know if people realize, the level of player that he is over there and the standing he has over there, which is very comfortable, especially when you're from Serbia and you're from Europe. And yet he thrust himself into a situation that is just totally unknown. Nothing was guaranteed to him. He didn't want anything guaranteed to him. And he just wanted an opportunity. And he put himself kind of back at the bottom of the mountain after working really hard to get to the top of one somewhere else. And so as a person, I just really respect the vulnerability that takes and the courage that takes. To even put himself in the position. And then obviously he's had to grind through it here. We weren't playing him in the rotation early. He probably, could have made an argument that he could have been out there. He wasn't for a number of reasons. But he's done a great job of just sticking with it and keeping himself ready. He didn't change, he stayed in character the whole time. He said, "I'm not asking for anything on the front end," and he followed through on that even when he wasn't playing. And now he's carved out a nice little role for us and is doing a really nice job.
He said passing has always been the thing he was best at and the thing he enjoyed the most. And he talked about how that's sort of probably helped. Does that help a guy who's going through what he's going through, just sort of ingratiate himself with the team, get in with the team when he's finding guys and he's finding where they want the ball and all that?
Yeah, I think, they knew, early, they knew he could play. Like you saw him in training camp and some of the stuff he can do. Not just with the passing, he's probably being a little humble there, like some of his pick and roll stuff in terms of his ability to manipulate the game. He really, really thinks the game, with high levels of anticipation. He's incredibly high IQ, really, really good. And he's as good as he is now, he's always kind of been like that. I saw him play at the U19s in, I think it was Prague. And he was on Jokic's team. I was working with Coach Donovan with the USA team, and even at that age, he was like ridiculous as a passer. He was 18 or 19 years old, so he's always kind of had that. But there's more to him. He's got a great sense for the game.
I wanted to ask you about Poku. He's been inactive for like a month now. I was just wondering if he was healthy or if anything was going on there.
No, he's healthy. You can only dress 15 guys. And we've had kind of an uncommon run of health here. We really had a healthy team for much of the season, which, is hard to do. And some of that's luck, and some of that's the work these guys have put in. It's some combination of the two. But you have to make 3 guys inactive, and we usually just put out the 15, in uniform that we think are most relevant for that game that night.